Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that Protoss vs. Zerg as well as the analysis of PiLiPiLi. We're back here and we're going to be jumping into a bit of a discussion about where you're at currently in your life. We're going to talk a bit about college, which I know is something that every student is super duper enthusiastic about. Now, PiLiPiLi, you're 18 years old, you're in college. I believe you're a freshman or a sophomore right now?
Freshman.
Freshman right now. And do you have any idea what you're planning to major in or what you want to be studying in?
Yeah, probably. Well, I'm going for the computer science. I might change it, but yeah, for now I'm going for the computer science. I like to spend time, on my with the StarCraft 2 stuff. So maybe I'll just stay in esports, not as a player, but more like as an organizer, like somewhere around there.
Do you have an interest in making games and becoming like a game developer?
Yeah, that's actually would be really cool. That's actually like working for Blizzard or something. That would be like the dream job.
You rebalance the swarm host, come up with the new implementations.
Yeah.
You've actually spent a lot of time in StarCraft. I know that you actually stream a good bit too. So tell me a little bit about that.
Well, yeah, I started streaming almost a year ago. I don't know why I started streaming, but I always would be I always wanted to show my games to somebody. I always needed attention, I would say, because every time I would have a good game when I was on streaming, I would always I don't know, like when I was little, if I would play a good game of like Warcraft, I would always call my father and be explaining him what I did, and I was really proud of myself. So yeah, I was just willing to because I wasn't good at the tournament. So if you can't show yourself in the tournaments, you should at least show yourself on the stream. So I started streaming, and I think streaming also really helped me to learn English because I used to because my accent was way more horrible, I guess, than it's now. Because I was talking a lot on stream, it kind of improved, I think. Plus, reading the chat and answering the question, then really helped me out with the English. So I think that was a good thing. Plus, yeah, I guess I got some notability, and it's a way to go because, as odd as it sounds, being streamer is way more profitable than being a professional gamer, unless you're really good and you can win tournaments constantly. But I'm not seeing myself, at least for now, doing that. So streaming is a better way to go. So at least you can, make some money off of it in the future and make a living off of that maybe, rather than trying to be a pro gamer. And then as soon as you stop playing as good as you are, then you pretty much gone from StarCraft. You can still stream, but it's just not going to be the same if you already stream for a couple of years and have a stable, amount of fans or constant viewers. So yeah, I'm trying to build the stream up more than I'm trying to become a good player. Because I don't think it's possible, but being a pro gamer and being a consistent streamer, but maybe we'll make it happen.
Do you feel like streaming makes it more difficult to be a pro gamer, or do you consider that at least the practice wise when you're streaming is one and the same?
There's a lot of things that harder with streaming because first of all, I'm really hard on my losses, so I can't really stay positive when I lose. And so if I lose off stream, I will just take a break and then be back into 1 hour and play again. I'll be playing good, but on stream you cannot afford doing that, so you have to keep playing, and you will be just getting more and more wrestled, and then it's just a waste of time, and you start to hate the game, and then it's just not good for your mentality and progress in StarCraft. Also you have to talk to the chat, because if you're not a pro gamer and you don't talk to the chat, you're not going to get any viewers. So you have to do that. So sometimes you just alt tab to read the chat, and then you alt tab back, and there's 2 oracles in your base and killing your probes, and you just wasted the entire game just because you pay attention to the chat or something. Then stream would die, so you would get kicked from the game, or internet will die or something. So a lot of problems, and also you show your builds, so everybody know your builds. Because if I would be playing off stream on Barcode and I would come into the tournaments, nobody would know that I had 2 base all in PvZ, right? But now everybody know when they can hard counter me and stuff. Yeah, it's just it doesn't go together, pro gaming and streamer. You can stream as a pro gamer once a week, people like Hotdu or Nanova, they would stream sometimes and just off, season off where there's no tournaments coming up. Then yeah, you can stream so you can have some kind of revenue, but then you go before the tournament, you don't stream again, and then you start practice off stream, come up with new strategies, and then show them in the tournament and stuff.
So that kind of leads me into the question, are you more interested in kind of making a, maybe not even a living, because you are in college, you are studying computer science, but revenue or some kind of income off of pro game or streaming, rather than pursuing, I guess, more of the pro gaming route where you maybe don't have that reliable income, but you aren't revealing your builds. You aren't doing all those things you just mentioned.
Yeah, this is what I'm trying to balance right now because I don't like unless I can qualify for WCS. It's been really hard for me because like I can actually like take a time off right now, don't stream for like 4 months until the next WCS qualifiers, get like really good hopefully, and then when the WCS qualifiers come up, I actually qualify. Then I get like feature on Team Liquid, and then stream just grows like really good because you people start to know that you're good. You feature on Team Liquid, you get Twitch partnership, all good, yada yada, great. Or but the thing is, if I fail WCS and I fail like 4 months practicing hard and not getting WCS for one reason or another, and then you start stream and you haven't streamed for 4 months and nobody even remembers about you, and you have to grow it like again. Or I can stream now and then don't qualify for WCS and have this like slow growth streaming, and then maybe in like 2-3 years becomes like big streamer or something, or like try to like become a pro gamer and suddenly become a good streamer because like everybody know you're good and you feature and stuff. So, and I think that there's been people that are featured in Team Liquid because Team Liquid right now doesn't guarantee viewers, but I think if I get featured, I'll like be able to give the viewers. I'll probably will take a month off before the LCS so I can practice a bit and maybe get in. Because it's gonna be like a finals too, so I'll not be able to stream anyway. So we'll try to balance it that way. It doesn't feel like a job in tournaments.
So I gotta ask, like, are your parents familiar or like aware of your involvement in esports at all? And how do they feel
Oh yeah,
about
they
it with
are.
you?
Well, they're not really sure what I'm doing, but since we had to fill taxes and stuff for my income, so I kind of had to like show them everything and do it with them. They know I'm playing like small tournaments and like semi decent or something, but they're not really sure how is that even possible to make money from computer games. It doesn't like make sense in their head, but I kind of explained them, so I think they're completely fine with me. They used to be like really negative about me spending time in front of a computer, but now since they realize there's actually like possibility of making a career, and like it's communication with the people. It's not necessarily like you actually stay in esport, but just like if you stream, there's like bunch of people in your stream, they potentially might help you in the future, like in the same city, and they know you, and they might help you to get a job or something because you make connections while you stream.
Let's actually talk a bit about your Protoss versus Terran, because this is actually my favorite matchup of all time in the entire game. So I don't know, we've been in agreement about Protoss versus Zerg. I want to know, are we in agreement? Do you enjoy Protoss versus Terran?
I enjoy it, but I think it really depends on the maps because like PVT is the only reason I veto maps. I think PVT is not my best, but it's not my worst for sure. And top 16 GMs are all Protoss players and Zerg players, so I don't play PVT. Sometimes Intense would like come to an A and play. He's like master account was top 1 GM MMR, and I'll play him like 1-2 games. And Drunken Boy, I'll play him. But that's it. Like I play 3-4 Terrans, and that's all my practice. But I've been trying a lot of new builds lately. I'm trying to open like Phoenixes, like just I used to scout a lot, like scout and like figure out what they do, and I would still die to unexpected drops. Now I don't scout at all, but I would have like that extra minerals from not scouting, and I actually defend like kind of drops way better than I used to. So I think that's the way to go. Just like not scout and then just go like 3 stalker, robo, mothership core, and then go like defense everything. Go for the 3 base, double forge, and then slowly but surely tech to storm, and then play from that. I'm pretty well, Bales from the last season. My style is pretty similar to his, I think, because he likes double forge. I like double forge, and like this, like safe 3 base defense SV pull stuff. So I learned a lot from Bales by watching his stream. So yeah, but PVT I don't all in a lot. I used to like actually like 1 year ago, literally like 4-gate blink 1 base every game, and that would be giving me good win ratio. But now it's a lot of stuff got nerfed. But usually I would just always go like 1-gate expand into depending on the map. I would go either Robo or I'll go Stargate and like 4 or 5 Phoenixes just to have a map control, and then go for like a Colossus style. I would never go like Phoenix Colossus. I always like open like 4 Phoenixes. Have a map control, harass a bit if I can, then take a third with a double forge, get the Colossus count, and play from that. Depends how it goes. I just don't see the way to beat Terran with like a mid game. So late game is the way to go.
Yeah, makes sense. Well, I'm very much looking forward to seeing your Protoss versus Terran, but before we do that, I want to ask you, if you had to give one strength and one weakness for the matchup, what would those two be?
Well, I'm very good at like holding mid game pushes. I got very good at holding like multi drops attacks, and I have real good map control. I think I have like observers on point. I have a pylons to spot the drops. I have stalkers in position, and the weakness I think is very late game when it comes down to like Terran having like bunch of medevac Viking Ghost, and I have like this like really good Protoss army, but I always will get EMP'd. I awfully like split my storms, like they always clumped up for me, and I always walk my Colossus into Vikings for some reason. Like I always miss hotkey them, and instead of walking Colossus back, I'd walk Stalkers back. So Colossus just go into the Vikings, and so it's never fun for me.
That's actually really interesting to me, because I know it sounds again like you want to go to the late game, but a lot of what your strength that you're kind of saying is that it almost feels like a mid-game strength of dealing with drops in multiple locations. And
But yeah, this is pretty much what I was talking about. Like you hold the mid game and then you kind of attack before it gets to the late game. Like I'm not talking late game for me is like 4 bases, not like 6 versus 6.
Okay. So. Okay. Well, awesome. I'm looking forward to seeing your Protoss versus Terran, and I hope a lot of other people are. Let's go ahead and check it out.
It's game time! Protoss versus Terran.
Alright, welcome to the Protoss versus Terran, guys. I'm back here with Rotterdam, the one and only, and we're going to go ahead and jump in and introduce the players as we actually spawn up here in the top right-hand corner of the map. It is the one and only player of the day, PiLiPiLi. And Rotterdam, who's our other player?
On the left bottom side of the map, we have a blue Terran, who's quite well known on the North American ladder. If you play a lot at either High Master or GM, you have definitely run into this guy multiple times. He plays under the idea of a Spectre, which is a Dota hero as well. Did you know that, Fear Dragon?
I did know that. Spectre is actually a pain in the ass Dota hero. Oh my god.
Yeah, I've always hated Spectre.
It's one of the most infuriating things when you're just like walking around in the jungle and suddenly Spectre with like a radiance and a heart of Taras just suddenly like pops up on view and you're like, well, what do I do?
I can see you have your fair share of Dota experience.
Oh, indeed. But you know, I gotta say, man, this is actually like my favorite matchup in the entire game. I know there are a lot of players that aren't exactly a big fan of PvT, but I think it's a pretty fun matchup to watch. PiLiPiLi, not too opposed to it, but he has said that it's kind of hard to get practice in this matchup these days, so.
You know what he should do?
What?
And I know Pili pretty well, so I'm going to tell him, but the Korean ladder right now, it is so insane. Like, the amount of Terran players on the Korean ladder is absolutely ludicrous. I've never seen anything like that. Like, 2 out of my last 3 ladder sessions, I would say 8 out of my first 10 games were against Terran, and this is really, I'm not exaggerating. It's like, I'm really not exaggerating. It's just unreal. Like, I played 10 games, I have like 1 PvZ, 1 PvP, and the rest is against Terran. It's just Terran. It's absolutely crazy. On the Korean ladder, and I know multiple people have had the same experience as I have, there is an insane amount of Terran players. Everybody wants to be the next Flash, man.
Exactly, Flash or Maru, or you know, any of your there's a lot of Terran players to look up to. I think there's a pretty decent number of Protoss players. Zerk players, I don't know. I feel like you pretty much get life, and that's it.
The thing is though, the Protoss players never really get the love they deserve, you know. With Terran it's always like, wow, 6 splits, and as Protoss it's like, dirty, A move race.
Yeah, you lay down the good force seals, and they're like, oh my god, Protoss is such a bullshit race. And you're like, come on, those are pretty good.
I know, it's not as easy as it looks, guys. We press buttons too.
Sometimes we have to press it more than once. But you know, I'm pretty curious to see how those 2 players are going to be playing it out. And again, PiLiPiLi has said that one of his big strengths is he does feel like he has a pretty solid mid-game where he's good at getting that map control, he's really good at shutting down vision, and most importantly, shutting down drops, which is obviously something that a lot of Terran players like to do. But as he goes into the later and later stages of the game, he feels like his unit control is not quite there. So it really does make me wonder, like, how is a Protoss player who just wants to maybe keep it toward the mid-game play it out?
You know what I think is kind of silly from what I've seen so far? So, Pili scouts, and he sees the commands on the low ground, which is going to give you a lot of information, because you can eliminate like a 6-minute and 30-second drop and stuff.
Yeah.
But then he sees the Marines, And that is kind of confusing because this was not a Reaper expand. So now he probably thinks like, all right, it's Gasless expand. But still, I think it's silly from Spectra to make it that easy to either spot let the command center get spotted or put the Marines on the ramp. Like if he puts the Marines further forward, then he could still sell the idea that he's going for a 6-minute, 30-second mine drop, which really paranoid, like makes Protoss players pretty paranoid and forces you to chrono boost out observers like hell and stuff.
Yeah, but oh my god, this Mothership Core actually, is it gonna die to these Marines?
Oh,
wow, PiLiPiLi.
Yeah, that's bad. Wow, this is disastrous opening. If he still wins this, I'm actually pretty impressed because this is a disastrous opening.
Yeah. Good target fire so far on the Stalker, making sure he's target firing down the weakened Marines. And he should be able to pick all these Marines off, but it's like you were saying, Roddy, it's the idea of a Protoss player that can't really play as greedy as they maybe would normally want to, because they don't have the safety of that photon overcharge anymore.
This is really bad. Like, he's still up 4 workers, but that basically means that he's still mining less money than his opponent because of double orbital. Then he lost the Mothership Core, which is 100 gas, and he lost a bunch of probes as well. Like, you should never lose probes. And he lost a little bit of mining time because other probes were still fighting, even the probes that survived. This is, like, I know a lot of people say, like, oh, you know, Protoss is good and stuff, but I feel if you're behind in this matchup, it is really hard to come back. You're basically forced to defend, and hope your opponent like overcommits with something like that. So I'm really curious to see how Pili plays this game out, because I know I'd be pretty mad right now. So I kind of wonder how he keeps his calm and what's his game plan is going to be.
Yeah, one nice thing is actually Spectre's getting pretty aggressive with these Marines. Okay, I was about to say one nice thing is Spectre's getting aggressive with the Marines, and you can do some nice Stalker micro, but unfortunately if you lose a Stalker, can't really do that quite as much.
Wow. This is truly a disaster so far. That's all I can say. It's a 3-rack opening as well, so the amount of bio units that Spectre is going to have is going to be pretty damn high. No, Pili has to be very careful. It's really annoying when there's a high group of Marines. You can't actually go through the bushes because the burst fire is too high.
Yeah, one really kind of interesting decision from Pili is that he's going for the Immortal. I don't know, like, what do you think about that? Just for me, it seems a little bit strange, just because I mean, all he knows is that there's going to be a lot of Marines out, unless you think that there's going to be some kind of big push soon.
I think he has. I think the observer spotted a few of the Marauders, so I think he's worried about. You know, just because it's a 3-racks opening, he doesn't even have to wait. Like Spectre does not have to wait for medevacs. He could just start pushing with Marines and Marauders, and if you don't have anything that's very good against the Marauders, it can be very hard to deal with this kind of pushes, even if you don't have medevacs. So I don't really mind it too much, but I do agree with you that it's a little different, because normally you see people rushing up to Colossus. But let's not forget that. Wow. But let's not forget that the opening for Pili was disastrous, so maybe that's why he's switching things up as well.
Yeah, and definitely switching things up in the sense that he's going for a Dark Shrine in this sort of situation, so we'll see how well that works out. I mean, that could very well be one really good way to come back in a game that, you know, you've lost a lot in earlier on, but Marines stim up, actually stimming up into the Photon Overcharge. They're still engaging, actually, over here. They're just going to go after the Immortals?
Yeah, that's kind of a questionable decision. I don't think he's going to get any. Okay, well, that was kind of silly. He just traded like 9 Marines and Marauder for a Photon Overcharge and 3 Zealots.
Yeah. Well, beginning of comebacks come in mysterious ways, Rotterdam. Let's see.
Are you quoting Ed Sheeran over there, mate?
May very well be, man. The world will never know. But I'm very curious to see how much damage this War Prism is going to be able to do, because Dark Shrine is finishing up right on time for it. But actually, could he actually go with the 2 Immortals and try and put on a little bit like Immortal harassment, and then just work in some DPs behind it? Or you think that's too committed?
No. Putting 2 Immortals in a War Prism against Terran, man, you like to live dangerous, don't you? That should be a pickup line in a bar. It's like, hey girl, I love to live dangerous too. I harass with Immortals against Terran, you don't want to do that.
Hey girl, have you seen Liquid Hero? Because I like to live dangerously.
Yeah.
Alright.
There's one girl out there that will get your joke, and she's the one. You have to marry her immediately.
I'll tell her Roddy told me to do so. I've got to make it happen now. But this. So I feel like he can defend over here with a Photon Overcharge, but he's only got 1, and he's got to be really, really careful with it.
I love how he throws down the scan, and he's like, lol, DT. Okay, now 2 Dark Templars being.
Oh no!
This is going to be really bad for Spectre, because he doesn't have a missile turret up. He just threw down his offensive scan, so he doesn't have 2 scans at home. He's actually going to lose quite a bit over here. Oh, the turret in the natural, duh! Oh my god, he's going to kill it.
Oh.
Or not.
Oh my god, it's so
Man.
close!
Wow.
Oh, that would have actually been
luck.
absolutely brutal.
No luck for Pili, but Spectre is gonna have to worry about one more DT in his main, and he didn't actually start a turret. That's a big mistake. He has plenty of money. He could have had a turret finished up by now. He's forced to throw down another scan. That's kind of bad. He's losing a lot of resources there. Even though DTs are not for free, like people often forget about that. They're like, "Oh, I used the scan. That's really good for the Protoss." It's like, well, you know, the Dark Dragonfly costs money too. Actually, costs real money, not just temporarily money.
Yeah, nice cancel on the third over there. Spectre gonna be able to get out of there without losing too much. Oh, gotta be careful of those medevacs. All right.
This is a pretty scrappy TVP so far, to say the least.
It's very interesting. I mean, there's definitely been some mistakes made on both sides, but at the end of the day, I kind of like, you know, at least some of the overall decisions they're kind of making. Like, again, PiLiPiLi not exactly going for the most standard sort of decisions, like going for the fast start Templars and everything. Obviously going for some of the other stuff that we saw with the Immortals and everything, but I think it's kind of working out okay for him.
I think if Spectre wouldn't have thrown out all those, thrown away those bio units, I think this game would have been a lot harder for Pili. Like that one push. He still has a lot of units now. He's mixing in a couple of Widow Mines as well, which can be very frustrating to deal with. If those mines just run into the mineral line, I think that's what he should have been doing.
Oh, looks like he's going to just try and cut off some of the reinforcements, but he catches a couple of probes. I honestly don't know if he maybe wanted to get the actual army over there and hope that you get in a transition. He's like going to get the...
Oh my god. That is disgusting. He threw away... Oh man, look at all the bluff on the floor as well.
Right.
He threw away so many units trying to get that Nexus.
Well, PiLiPiLi better start chrono boosting that bad boy if he wants those shields back. The Widow Mines are surprisingly enough actually still alive. It looks like they'll get picked off after doing a little bit of damage, but PiLiPiLi going back in with the Warp Prism. We'll see. There is, of course, that missile turret, but one missile turret, actually, if you just warp in like 2 DTs, you can still just take it down before there's actually a repair on if there's a fast enough reaction time.
Spectre left 2 Widow Mines in the corner, now Pili comes in from a different angle. That must be really frustrating for Spectre. I'm very, I must say that I think it's questionable to make this many mines against a player that has opened up with Colossus after all. Like, I know he has DTs, but he also made Colossus, he's seen the Colossus, and he's still throwing in a roll of mines. Like, mines are always good against Zealots, but I think right now he should be worried about getting Vikings rather than anything else.
Yeah, drop going down in the main base as well as another one over at the third expansion. Third expansion is going to be able to do a little bit more damage. The drop in the main base, though, going to get cleaned up, and it looks like, unfortunately, Spectre not quite paying attention to that medevac. Going to end up losing it.
Yeah, the other drop is doing phenomenal amounts of damage, though, in the third base of Pili. This is kind of the thing. If you have Colossus and DTs, you obviously don't really have a whole lot of observers or blink stalkers out there to snipe, or cannons, you know, or high templates to snipe medevacs left and right. So it's really hard to deal with multi-prong aggression like this.
Yeah, one nice thing is that, of course, those DT is going to help out quite a bit with the multi-prong aggression. He does manage to save his third expansion, which is a very, very nice kind of savior. He does have something to fall back on, but he's definitely going to do some damage over here.
I actually think this is almost an unkillable army from Pili. Without any goals to kill those Archons. Like, these Archons, they can tank forever. I mean, Widow might help out a little bit, but...
Yeah, I mean, the desperation is very much visible from Spectre when he pulls all the SCVs out the natural expansion. He's now down 20 workers at the end of the day, and there's still these Colossus staying alive. I mean, there haven't been any Vikings produced this entire game. That's actually kind of an interesting note, considering, like, you know, PiLiPiLi has been making Colossus for a little bit.
Actually, one of these Colossus do get picked off, but I feel that Spectre has lost too much by now. It's a cool build by Pili, pretty well executed, I would say.
Yeah, he's
despite a really scrappy opening, but you know, other than that, that makes it actually even more impressive that he was still able to make this work.
Yeah, sometimes, you know, you aren't always gonna play a game of StarCraft 2 like when you're ahead in the early game. Not every single game is perfect, and it's kind of cool to see some players that kind of stick it out even after being down in a situation that a lot of players would maybe say, like, you should actually just die in this situation, because you get used to maybe taking some of the risks that shouldn't work, but you get used to being able to do them so that when it does come to a competitive match, like, you're capable of trying them out.
There's still a bunch of mines there, so you have to be a tiny bit careful, but...
That's a lot of mines.
Yeah. Colossus forward? No. That's a good time warp, really good time warp.
Well, I guess he's just gonna charge in at this point? No! It's still backing up. I guess at this point, like, it's a 3-base Protoss player that has almost double the number of workers. He can kind of just take his time and move in.
Yeah, he doesn't have to do it, especially if you just take small trades like this where he gets a few more SCVs. That's pretty much all you could hope for.
Yeah. Vikings land because, I mean, at the end of the day, there's finally no Colossus, but is it really going to matter? He's going to lose almost his entire army just trying to defend against this push out. And Widowmine's going to be burrowing in, but I guess he manages to hold for a little bit longer. But again, it's like the same question, at what cost?
Man, just sacrifice a Colossus. I think he's been watching miniguns in stream. He's also a Colossus donating North American products.
Well, yeah, that was one thing that PiLiPiLi mentioned, that, you know, he didn't really feel super comfortable with, like, say, his Colossus or High Templar control. He sometimes kind of just walks them in, is really not feeling very great about pulling them back in the pullback macro. So, something that PiLiPiLi does still need to work on. I like the Spectres at least trying to continue to drop, but these 3 Marauders got to do a lot of damage.
Yeah, some of these drops have actually been doing great damage. Just the most unfortunate moment is that a couple of the big decisions when Spectre tried to take something down, he didn't get it, like the Nexus or the Immortal early on. He just threw away a lot of units twice for no reason. Look at the HP of the Nexus in the natural and the Nexus in the third base. Like both of them have like 200 HP or, like, you know, 22 HP, which is pretty ridiculous.
Well, he's gonna go for it. He actually has a backup over here. The Archon's gonna be doing a lot of damage, taking out all the medevacs are actually gone. So it's not a lot of sustainability left over in this army, but it looks like it's actually enough to clean up, maybe?
No. The Zealots should save the day. Oh, that's a really good bit of my hit.
Yeah, a bit of indecision over there. Zealot's not sure if they really want to engage. They end up taking a lot of shots, and actually Spectre is starting to clean up a lot of these stalkers. The Colossus is going to get focus fire down as well, and he's finally going to be able to take out that Nexus.
Wow. I really did not expect that after you walked in a bunch of Zealots. I don't think that had to happen, but those Widowmine hits, they were pretty much as good as one Terran could possibly hope for. I can't believe that Spectre is hanging into this game after losing like every single SCV multiple times. Now he has 2 Dark Templars again in his third base. That's really hurting him though, because he just dropped a bunch of mules over there as well.
Yeah, PiLiPiLi just saying, well, you've killed off a lot of my workers. Let me kind of return the favor right now. We got 43 workers killed by Spectre, and 54 only rising for PiLiPiLi.
Yeah, and Pili is pretty much mined out as well, of course, in his main. His natural is still, you know, he has a couple of minutes left here and there, but this is becoming a game of the broke players.
Very much. I'd say one big difference though is even though Spectre does have the 3CC going on for him, he really just doesn't have many SCVs, and actually most of those SCVs are not mining right now. Oh no, poor Spectre. He doesn't have any income. Okay, finally he's starting to return, but that's like 3 or 4 mules that could have been mining like a couple extra trips.
Yeah, he was fighting a DT before again. He had like 1 or 2 bio units there, but he felt like he was obligated to pull the SCVs. This game is funny.
One more DT moving on in. It's going to be able to take out this missile turret while it's still being made, but scan does go down. Every single bit of damage though, like PiLiPiLi moves in, he kills 3 workers. That's about a 1/6 of the economy of Spectre.
Yeah. But let's say that, you know, it's been a very weird game when both players are on 1-1 upgrades at the 23-minute mark. Like, that is not standard.
Yeah, no kidding. I'm actually just kind of like surprised that we end up seeing still so many DTs being worked in for PiLiPiLi, because again, like you're mentioning, it's a really, really scrappy game, and DTs, as you kind of said, like, they can feel kind of expensive, like, especially if you just move in and you kill off like a couple workers. It does actually make you wonder, like, is it worth it if you just kill off like 3 or 4 workers?
Yeah, it all depends on the state of the game, your economy, his economy, and right now it's actually pretty hard to say because this is a really bizarre scenario.
Yeah.
I think as long as Pili has this base mining again, what this, you know, could theoretically be his 4th, but now it's his 3rd, I guess, then I think it's okay to make those trades. You know, 1 DT for every 2 SCVs he kills with the current economy of Spectre, I'd be sort of okay with that.
Yeah, it looks like he's pretty much okay with it too, since he's going back in. Gonna be able to snag actually a good number of SCVs over here.
Yeah.
And Spectre, he might actually realize that this army is out on the map right now, because he's not moving his army at all. He's just positioning and preparing to defend this 3rd expansion with the best split he can.
I think if you take a look at army supply right now, it's 51 against 53. So it's very close on the army supply tab, but it's only Marauders. So the only way that Spectre would be able to win a fight is if he literally gets like a perfect engagement on the Colossus.
Yeah, I'm also kind of wondering, like, at this point as Spectre, I guess, do you go for the drop? Well, I guess Spectre's kind of decision is that you go for the drops. You try and put on some harassment. But how effective it'll be doesn't look like very.
I guess he just kind of felt like he's obligated to make something happen.
Yeah.
I think, you know, especially in a game like this, which has been so hectic and crazy, like most players, especially, you know, the GM players, they will always have pretty good game sense on whether or not they are ahead or behind, or if it's even, or if they have to make some magic happen. But every once in a blue moon, you get one of these weird games where you're just completely lost and you have no idea if your opponent is actually about to run out of steam, or, you know, if he's just setting up for another bigger attack. So I think Spectre was just trying to test the waters over there and trying to see, you know, how much does PiLi have? How all in was he in a couple of those attacks? Well, he was semi all in because he was definitely on the verge of, you know, being in trouble, but he never went all the way. PiLi never overcommitted this game other than the Colossus donating move.
Yeah, this might be the one time that PiLiPiLi is going to be totally out of position, just because he's in over here denying the 4th expansion, eventually going to attack the 3rd, and I think Spectre realizes his best chance may even just be a base trade, because he's got the double drop moving into the main base. He's going after that pesky Dark Shrine. A good decision, I think, given how much trouble it's caused him.
Yep, but 2 DTs have actually been wiped in, and, you know, killing a Dark Shrine is awesome, but now he also lost a bunch of bio units, and he has absolutely nothing at home. Look at the amount of sentries that PiLi has, by the way. I love how you... Well, that's funny.
I guess in a base trade, sentries are actually pretty nice. I mean, they're energy units, so they're gonna have that reusability later on, and it's nice for hallucinated scouts, I guess, if you're trying to scout out where your opponent's buildings are. And there's not a lot of dead airspace to hide on Overgrowth, I don't think, either.
I mean, that is true, but that is also the only thing that they will ever be useful for in a base trade, because they are very slow, and they don't have the highest amount of DPS. Man, all these hallucinated zealots, it's a really cool move. I really like it.
Oh, yeah. They're gonna actually take so much damage over here, so I guess...
And they even absorbed a couple of Widowmine shots.
Well, there you go, Rotterdam. PiLiPiLi is out there to disprove you, man. Sentry's got that one extra use that we didn't anticipate. It's definitely like a base trade at this point. And actually, PiLiPiLi has enough resources to warp in some units back at home. And I think that might actually be enough to start turning things around.
Yeah, I don't think it's much of a race when Spectre has 0 workers and PiLi has 29. True. And he's even taking the gold, but Spectre is trying to turn this into a race, but it's a race that was never a race.
Yeah, I think at this point, PiLiPiLi should pretty much have this. Just got to utilize some of those DTs and Zealots that he has actually lying around back at home, because there's not a lot of scans that can happen when you don't have any orbitals that are even on the ground anymore.
I think most of the DTs have died, but
yeah.
So do Spectre's hopes to win this game. That was a pretty fun game on Overgrowth. Exactly 30 minutes with a lot of, you know, goofy, silly stuff, but overall I think a pretty good game.
Yeah, now we know what Spectre was waiting for before he actually GG'd out. He was waiting for that 30-minute mark, a nice clean 30 minutes, but...
Yeah, 30 minutes, because the 000s of all the SCVs he has left at the end of the game.
Exactly. But guys, we're going to go into the analysis segment with PiLiPiLi, get his thoughts on the game. So we'll see you guys there in just a second. Alright, welcome back, guys. We're in the Protoss versus Terran analysis segment, and I'm back here with PiLiPiLi, and we're going to get his thoughts on the game. So PiLiPiLi, man, what was going through your head in this game? It was quite a hectic game, if I do say so myself.
Yeah, the game was pretty fun. So open pretty standard. That's usually how I open, like 1 gate, 1 gas expansion into scout, into robo. 3 gates is get 2 stalkers to scout, get 2 observers to check his natural, get observer for the drops, be active with the stalkers, all this stuff. I don't like doing like any shenanigans like proxy war call and avoid it all in. It just doesn't work, so I don't like it. So the only thing that is interesting about the game, I like this build a lot, which is you go for the robo, you let them scout the robo, and as soon as they scout the robo, you make a couple immortals, and you fake an immortal zealot all in. You pretty much like showing like, hey, look, I have 2 immortals really quick, and I'm gonna also make sentries later on to force your bunkers potentially, right? And then I switch to DTs. So a lot of Terrans fall for that. So because they see like nobody builds 2 immortals in PvT, let's be honest.
No.
So when somebody sees 2 immortals, they're like, okay, this guy's all winning, right? And then there's DTs. This really like Dark Shrine and Twilight, they don't cost that much. It's like a difference when like 2 Sentries and 1 Zealot. So Terran cannot really notice the difference. So they have to be careful. So they're never gonna invest extra money into missile turrets, because if they do, then they're gonna die to the potential Immortal Zealot all in, or like Immortal Sentry all in. And there's DTs coming with the War Prison, so they're not having a fun time. But behind that, you switch to Colossus, Double Forge, in like 3rd base, and play pretty standard.
Yeah, that definitely makes a lot more sense, because, you know, I remember Rotterdam and I were kind of sitting there and being like, Immortals is like a really interesting choice. Wait a second, now he's following up with DTs. What's going on? Because we were sort of wondering, like, you ended up taking a lot of damage, just those early, that kind of early Marine pressure. I know you ended up losing, like, a Stalker or 4 probes, like, a couple other things. Like, it seemed like maybe you were just kind of taking some risks because you felt like maybe a bit further behind, but that was kind of like your intention all along, is what you're saying. To just go.
Yeah, because also my opponent did not scan. Usually, before going in, they usually like would send at least 1 Marine or scan, and you'll see 2 Immortals and it would get really scary and never attack you. But he actually moved like kind of blindly, so he kind of got lucky, so I had a little bit of a trouble, because usually when they see 2 Immortals, they're like, nope, not going in. And then there's DCs in their base. And this guy still moved out, and you still can hold it. Plus in the early game, as much as I remember, I lost like a mothership port to 4 Marines.
Yeah.
So like usually if I would not lose my mothership port, and I would be in a way better spot than it was. So yeah, DTs did a lot of damage as expected, because no big spaces at that point. I couldn't finish the missile actually on the natural, but it's still a lot of damage. It's just, and DTs, the good thing about DT is that it's not just like you harass them once and that's it. No, you're gonna, like, they're really good against drops. They're really good for Archons, obviously. You can harass with them with the 3rd base. As soon as you move for the 3rd base, they will not have them slowed, so you can attack with DTs once again. And yeah, they're just good overall. Like, there's no reason to not build them in PvT, I guess. Plus, a lot of players get really frustrated about them, so just get on tilt when they see them once, and then it's just kind of helping you out, because they like losing their hotkeys, and they just panic, don't split the army perfectly, and just slowly but surely get advantage.
So one thing I definitely noticed was you really enjoy your DT harassment, because you just went absolutely crazy with it, man. What was going on with that?
Well, DTs are never bad. Even if they have a missile turret and they don't have unit position, DT can still one-shot to like a couple SCVs. So it's always nice. Plus that brings his army back, so he cannot really be as aggressive as he usually would like to be. So usually DTs pay off, at least like 50% of the time, so it's worth warping them in. At that point, it got into a really weird base race situation where I had a bunch of sentries. So usually when I get in that situation, you're supposed to have an observer, which I do have right now in the play, but it's not quite there. So usually when I like hallucinate a bunch of zealots and just let them take the Widowmine shots, because that's the only usage of sentries at that point, because you can't really force this fast by army. You usually just force yourself out. So I'm not even trying, so I'm just trying to like take the Widowmine shots with the fake zealots. And this is again shows like the power of DTs in the base race. Because even though he sniped the Dark Shrine, because he knew DT would be a threat, especially when he starts to lift CCs. Because winning the base race against Terran is pretty much impossible sometimes. But if you have DTs, when they flow their buildings, they cannot scan, so that helps a lot. So this is another thing why I enjoy about DTs, because they always have to pick up the medevac, so they cannot heal their units, so units are always low, so you can like one-shot them with the CTs, while taking like completely another base on the map, and like having actually a vision with your DTs and like checking where he has his stuff out. This is why I like DTs, because they not only harass, they also can help you to win a base race, because I feel like that's the only way. Unless you have like a Stargate, you can somehow magically get the Phoenix out to actually like kill those buildings. But usually DTs is the best way to not lose base race.
Man, anyone who makes DTs like you do and just constantly harasses with them is gonna be gonna earn me as a fan anyways. But dude, thank you so much for your PvT. If you don't have any other kind of thoughts, then we'll move on to the next segment.
Yeah, I don't think there was that much. I got a lot of lucky moments with the same in my Nexus, and then actually like staying with the army, like near my Nexus, so it never dies. But at the same time, I almost lost my 3rd, and then I did lose my 3rd, and lost my double upgrades. It was a mistake of me putting double fortune in my 3rd base. You never want to do that, but I was kind of panicking, so I just YOLO'd it. yeah, you want to put like when I have 2 forges right now.
Mhm.
You want to always put it somewhere around here instead of like
Mhm.
taking the third, because third is way too vulnerable to drops.
Yeah, makes sense. All right, well, we're going to move on to the next segment. Guys, don't go anywhere. We will be right back.